Guys, let's get 200 likes and I'll release the next part. Luo Chen is sitting in the audience reading a book. Keo's friend decides to talk to him. He notices that he hasn't seen him here before, so the fat man asks who he came here with. The hero simply ignores the interlocutor, doing his own thing. Then he decides to step in. Little Chen. He loudly declares that his friend asked Luo Chen a question, and then asks if he is the right person, deaf or dumb. The brunette reports that the wind suddenly blew and raised ripples on the spring waters. The pond. The companions look at the guy with incomprehension, not understanding what he is talking about. They count. What's wrong with his head? Then the girl in the next chair chimes in. She repeats the hero's words, then explains what he wanted to say and what he cares about it. Luo Chen closes the book, stating that dumb people like them need to learn more, otherwise, even to understand that they were cursed, they will be forced to look for an interpreter. Girl. He covers his mouth to keep from laughing, and the two guys start shaking with anger. Friend of Chao. The first one can't stand it. He claims that the guy needs to spend less of his ancient knowledge, phrases, because he can take his life at any second. Then another person approaches the noisy company, who is in a hurry to understand the situation. This, Manager Li. The fat man puts a hand on his back, claiming that he arrived just in time. After all, an unknown character somehow snuck in here and made a big fuss. The manager is very politely asks the hero to show him the invitation. Luo Chen also clarifies why the interlocutor. She only asks him because there are so many people here. The man explains his actions by saying that he knows all the other people, and of course they don't need to be checked. The two companions nod, with his head behind the man's back, while he stresses that he has never seen Luo Chen here, and if it doesn't show the invitation letter, then it will have to ask it to leave. The hero decides not to be stubborn and show the invitation letter in a red brochure. The Trinity is surprised by this development of events. The fat man immediately calls it a fake, stating that the beggar cannot to be such a thing. Keo joins in, demanding that Luo Chen stop pretending. Manager Li asks his friends to be patient, because this may not be good, affect their reputation. He suggests that they go up to the upper hall and rest, and here he is. Be sure to deal with everything. The guys decide to leave this matter to the man and leave. Here, the manager begins to speak quite differently. He notices that he has already done enough to preserve his reputation, so today it doesn't matter if he has an invitation card, a letter or not, for he must leave in any case, and if he is thrown out with a scandal, then this is going to be a very ugly situation. At this moment, several people appear behind Luo Chen. Thugs. Then a loud voice from behind makes everyone turn around. I decided to attend the event myself. Elder Yi is the last to approach the manager, noticing that he is too bold. Once, I decided to expel the dear guest invited by him. Li turns to look at the hero, not sure what it is. He is this guest. Luo Chen notices to himself that the old man has arrived just in time. Otherwise, he would have to expend the rest of Emperor Wuji's strength in such a place. Mr. Yi with his. The granddaughter decides to find out if everything is in order with the hero. The girl also notes that she was late, that he's asking for forgiveness. Luo Chen, on the other hand, is confident, saying that everything is fine and it's unlikely that he is either. Something might have happened. The manager is aware that esteemed Elder Yi is using politeness in speech in relation to someone. This only finally finishes off the man. Granddaughter in. The grandfather notices that the subordinate showed inattention. The latter admits that, I made some serious mistakes and behaved like a blind dog. He wants to say something else, but Mr. Yi shuts him up. Luo Chen insists that it's all a small matter, so don't get angry. Then, the elder orders Lao Yu to deal with it. Events are moved to the top floor. PRJSC. He communicates with his friend, noting that they were well supported by Manager Li. Interlocutor. He also realizes that some redneck decided to measure up to them. Suitable for friends. Father Keo, who urges you to behave decently, because they say that today the respected. I invited one guest, so he asks me to look him in the eye and promise that they won't show up to anyone. Be rude. Seung says that he's not such a fool, and they all know esteemed Yi, so they can't help it. They can't provoke his people. Also, the kid thinks that given their position, esteemed Yi should also show them some courtesy. Then two men approach the trio. They immediately clarify who they are. At this point, someone from the outside is ordering to throw out Trinity from here. This confuses them. The father, son, and fat girl are forced into a separate room, from which there is only access to the street. The man orders them to get out of here, but the guy's father decides to find out from the head of who in. What's up? The other guy just slams the door in his face without explaining anything. Chao is trying to find out from the father what happened, but the man prescribes a strong bream to his child, sharply, asking who he had insulted. A man has been part of this society for many years, and for the first time, so disgraced. Keo also recalls recent events. He realizes that they don't know anyone. They also insulted Luo Chen. The guy initially thinks that he just has an unrealistic reputation, but then he discards this thought, considering it impossible. The auction is currently underway. In full swing, the host congratulates number 23 on purchasing a pair of hairpins, Dragon and Phoenix, for 170,000 yuan. It warns that soon their employees will be able to. They will sign a contract with them certifying the trade transaction. After that, it goes to the next lot. Luo Chen mentally notes that all the lots here are works of art and antiques. Then Elder Yi asks the hero to wait a little longer, because soon the other one will come. Human. The guy already suspected that the old man invited him for a reason, and now it was revealed. The truth is that he has some business with him. The white-haired man decides to clarify that with the man they're waiting for. He's known for over a decade, and he's never suspected him. And if he hadn't seen the fake on the train, then he would still be in the dark. Here too, a man with glasses approaches them. He apologizes for his tardiness, justifying it by saying that, "I was stuck in a traffic jam." Elder Yi looks at the hero expectantly. The expert notices Luo Chen, deciding to clarify what it is. A young man. The old man says that this is his new friend, who has a lot of experience. He has a talent in the field of object identification, and today he has the opportunity to take it to this place. The man grins inwardly, thinking that respected Yi is out of his mind. He's not, especially believes that the young man on the contrary is able to conduct examinations. The expert apologizes by saying that I didn't know they were colleagues. The hero forgives him for this. The same seethes with anger, because with his qualifications and experience, calling this boy a colleague is like flattering him, and the other boy is a coworker. I didn't even compliment him back, just looked down on him. The expert decides to teach you a lesson. An arrogant youngster. At this time, the host puts up a new lot, calling it one of the main ones. This is a bronze antique sword from the Eastern Zhou era. During this period, the skill of the bronze, the art of antiquity, has reached its peak. The man notices that this thing is quite good. He also claims that it will be very difficult to find it on the market in such good condition, and the initial price is not high. The expert offers to buy it. The hero intervenes in the conversation, calling the new lot is a bit questionable. The man decides to show off his knowledge, stating that there is an experience that is several decades long, and his young colleague hardly even knows how much. The item must pass the verification procedures to get to the auction. Luo Chen ignores these questions, words calling the item a fake. The expert gets word incontinence. He doesn't understand how some kid can carry a gun. Such nonsense in front of him. The man notices that it is impossible to evaluate objects just by taking a look at this. Schuinger, on the other hand, mentally notes that what is happening is very familiar to her. The expert is the same. He claims that one talent in this business is not enough, but there must be skill and such. Many years of experience, like his, because that's what he learned. His name is Tang Zhang. Luo Chen didn't. He understands why this whole pointless argument is happening. He suggests simply buying this lot and take a look, because nothing terrible will happen if the examination is carried out several more times. Organizations. The interlocutor does not understand why they should wait for expertise from other people. He's here. Tang Jun asks Mr. Yi to confirm that he is the best appraiser in the world. All Tanju. The old man confirms this, then asks his granddaughter to announce the price. He asks the hero not to attach any importance to this. But in the field of expertise, old Tang never. I was wrong. The latter does not understand how such a young man dared to measure forces with him in his own country. The sphere. In addition, he had spent more time with esteemed Yi than he had ever lived. The organizer announces a price of 3 million, starting the countdown. Schuinger raises the price to 5 millions. The two girls present realize that respected Yi's place is there, so no one else is there. Don't dare place a bet. Indeed, the lot goes to Mr. Yi. At this time, the man decides. Tell them that all this time, he was just studying historical information about the era. Zhu. So as of today, this precious sword has become a rarely seen item among the aristocracy. The expert also notes that the respected Yi has an unusually sharp eye. Otherwise, today, they might make a mistake, because if in the future they would want to buy it at this price, it would be quite difficult. Luo Chen just ignores him, which hits him hard. A man's pride. He breaks down and jumps up, claiming that he was being polite to him. Just because the esteemed Yi is here. He didn't expect him to be so ignorant, and dare to provoke him again. The man claims that he is several decades old, thoroughly engaged in the examination of antiques, and there was never such a thing that he did not notice. Marriage. But he only has at least 100 issued licenses. At this time, Mr. Yi approaches a subordinate and whispers something in your ear. The expert notes that they do not know his merits at all, and that still dares to question it. Then the old man claps his hands, riveting her to him. Attention. He says it's all well said, but Mr. Tang will have to explain some things. At this time, the subordinate takes out a paper on which a sword is depicted. This paper confirms that this lot is a fake. The expert can't believe this development of events. He again reminds us that all items that get here pass through multi-level verification so that no fakes were ever found here. Intervenes in the conversation. Shuinger, the girl, claims that the man always encouraged his grandfather to buy only fakes because he knew that his grandfather trusted him and would not give them up for examination. Expert advisor, but he calls it slander because there was no benefit for him to do so. Schoolgirl, the hero notices that there was a benefit. She just sent people to investigate about the bronze one, an antique sword, as well as a fake painting from last time. It turned out that the person who gave these items to the auction house was actually Tang Zhong. The man is trying to justify himself, but the girl continues to push, saying that he bribed appraisers on the auction house so that his fakes get on it, and then bred his grandfather to buy them, and from this, I made a profit. Shuinger still decides to clarify whether the man will admit that he'd done it, or she'd need to bring the appraiser he'd conspired with here, too. Expert advisor crashes on the floor. He turns to Mr. Yi, claiming that he can explain everything. A man on the move. He gives me an excuse, telling me that he recently had an accident in his family, and I needed money. Then the girl reminds that the interlocutor has at his disposal 20 shops that his grandfather gave him. They should have been enough to cover expenses for the entire year. Multiple lives. A representative of the fair sex notes that the expert secretly collected huge amounts of money. She clarifies why he did it. The man is trembling with fear. He puts his hands over his mouth because for some reason he can't say it. Then Mr. Yi, after finding out the truth, he asks Lao Yu to take the deceiver away. Shuinger is indignant. She doesn't understand why this man, who had been working for my grandfather for several decades, turned out to be like this, ungrateful, even though his grandfather provided for him. The elder notices that it is most likely a case of, it's not about money, because this person risked his life for some other reason. There's probably someone who bribed him in some way. The girl takes these words seriously, so she does not understand who else is within them. Tongju could poach such a person. Mr. Yi assumes that his old friend has returned, the enemy, so at the right moment, he would have to trouble Mr. Luo. The last one, he understands that this is the real reason why the Yi family has been so kind to him. At the same time, an extremely special lot is put up for auction, which is the last one. This, titled to 120 square meters of real estate in the Panlongwen area, square kilometers. Its starting price is 1 million. Shuinger hurries to tell you that a few years ago, real estate in this area was worth more than 10 billion, and now it is. One headache. The hero becomes interested in why this is. The girl explains that before that, everything is fine. 3 developers of the Panlongwen district died under mysterious circumstances on the 7th day after taking office. The construction crew that went there was also killed. Total, within a few years, dozens of human lives were lost. When the dead were found, they all looked extremely terrifying and frightening. However, the body wasn't even covered in blood. Small wounds were also found, and no illnesses were found. Besides, they found more yesterday. One victim in the area. The deceased is a taxi driver. They say that neither by car nor by car, there was no damage to the body. The hero also grabs the taxi driver, remembering something important. No one ever decides to buy. The host understands that if no one makes a bet, then we'll have to deal with the failed auction. 2 girls communicate with each other. One notices that it used to be the most expensive piece of land in Tongju, but today it is being given away, almost for nothing, but no one takes it. The interlocutor claims that only a fool will take this one. Well, after all, this fun is life-threatening. Only those who are tired of living will become. This is to buy. Luo Chen stands up from his seat, announcing that he is buying this item. Chapter 1-23. There is a minute's pause. Everyone is impressed by this statement. 2 girls. We are amazed that someone actually dared to place a bet. One of them is even interesting. Where did this guy come from? Even the host freezes in place. Her boss asks her to hurry. The aristocrat from the next balcony becomes really curious. It notices that if this person can stay there for 7 days, then she won't mind getting to know him. Shuinger is shocked by what Master is doing. She reminds me that everything they've just been talking about. They said it wasn't a joke at all. Even Mr. Yi asks him to think about it seriously. The hero is the same. He straightens his tie, assuring them that he'll be fine and they can rest easy. The girls, there are still doubts, but after looking at her grandfather, she decides to accept it. Here in it, a credit card is flying. Luo Chen reports that there is 1 million on the card. He asks her to settle the transaction formalities and sign everything in his stead. He says goodbye, stating that he has things to do. The student decides to find out where the mentor is going. Hero without. Yudeki replies that he is on his way to Panlongwen. Luo Chen drives his car to Panlongwen. He notes that this place is located very close to the city area, but it is very empty. The hero understands that the news is not. They lied, but he still wants to see for himself how much evil power is hidden there in the end. Evil spirits. He gets out of the car and sees cyclones circling over the completed building. Dark energy. The dark-haired man holds out his hand, telling them to leave. He is still amazed that at the midday hour, when the sun Kai is extremely pure, so much dark energy could be gathered here. Cold evil energy. He moves closer to the unfinished building, realizing that the main thing is that the building is not built. The construction has already been completed, and that a lot of money was spent on it once. The hero is being stopped. The feeling that something is wrong here. He makes the frame with 4 fingers. Luo Chen feels that on a high mountain, the lone wind is raging. It turns out that this is the place from the very beginning. It collected the souls of the dead. A single high-rise building also collided with several bloody deaths, and it's not surprising that there are so many harbingers of trouble here. Apparently, after he gets it, he will have to put a lot of effort into converting it. In that moment, a plump woman runs up to the hero. She asks him not to go to this building because something's going on inside. The woman notes that time will pass and he will never see her again. He can leave even if he wants to. Luo Chen suggests that the earth is shrouded in spirits. He doesn't feel it. However, Emperor Wuji's power didn't react at all. The interlocutor takes it out of her bag, a blueprint left by her son, who once worked here as a builder during his lifetime. She points out that this is a very large place. So if you don't know how to get out, then you should go to the path specified there. The hero accepts the gift, realizing that it is a master's drawing. Works. After a moment, he looks up, but she's already gone. Luo Chen enters the building. Inside, he feels something unusual. It finds the source of problems. Presumably, the damage to the feng shui flow in these buildings was done intentionally by the designer. The guy tries to understand why this was necessary. Most likely, this is for the sake of creating a large seal that collects spirits. The hero notes that 9 evil spirits are connected and act against the will of heaven. He understands that the evil spirit who did this is really crazy. While Luo Chen is trying to deal with this force, he is ordered to raise his hands from behind. He looks around and sees 3 policemen. The hero realizes that he has an obstacle. The policeman asks who he is, and the girl calls for raising your hands. They notice that the hero, he makes strange movements with his hands, and one of them says it out loud. The girl is the same. She warns him that she's counting to 3, and if he doesn't answer, she'll make a warning call. Shot. And one of the guys starts with 3 at once, making a shot. The bullet passes in several directions, inches from Luo Chen's head. The latter turns in their direction, calling them to himself. A bunch of fools. The girl also shouts at her partner, asking what they would do if I really hit it. The comrade declares that this person dared to resist them orders, so he should have given him a warning. Representative of the beautiful, Paula calls her partner a blockhead, after which they return their attention to the hero. Man, he asks why he came here. The girl also says that in the territory of Panmongwen, there were several murders, so it was sealed off by law enforcement. Luo Chen realizes that Emperor Wuji's remaining strength should be enough to calm them down, but then he won't be strong enough to deal with this thing. They are also aware that entering into conflict with law enforcement agencies is not the smartest choice right now. It remains for him. Only act on the situation. The girl mentally notices that the guy opposite is about. She's her age, but he doesn't panic at gunpoint. She's amazed at that. How well it is developed psychologically. The hero raises his hands, urging the police not to be nervous. It appears to be normal. He was a fan of the supernatural, so he came to this place to shoot some videos. The police officer doesn't believe him, believing that he is a serial killer who is connected to the murders in this city, and that he belongs to the category of criminals who return to the scene. Crimes. The girl has a better shutter speed. It asks you not to use it. Co-worker inertia thinking and pass judgment as you please, because they are serious. Refer to evidence. The girl asks the hero to help her to conduct an investigation. After all, they currently have a specific situation, and if the guy is telling the truth, then after the interrogation, they will release him. Luo Chen is a little surprised at how they ask him for help. Cooperation. The girl puts him in handcuffs, noticing that this is an order. They decide. Go back to management. They've been walking for half an hour, but they keep coming back to the building. The man thinks that there was a malfunction in navigation. The girl does not believe in it, because they are all the time. They went north and didn't even change direction. Luo Chen decides to tell them the truth. It turns out that in the territory of Panmongwen there are 9 spirits that spoil feng shui. They cover 9 of the 12 shichen. So, in addition to the intervals from 7 to 9, from 9 to, you can't get out between 11 and 1 o'clock.